What up? What up?
Yo, we in the building.
Hey.
As always, Kyle's on location. He's heading to the Swoopin D Tailgate.
Where are you at currently, Kyle? Right. What is your location?
Kyle, what's it like out there?
You know what? Well, it's the freeway. It's actually really nice temperature right now. It's like 70 degrees out here in San Diego. We're about to get to the Swoopin D Tailgate. Yeah, and it's gonna be a blast. Like, I hope you guys can come out there. It's at Mission Bay, San Diego. I believe it's actually on Fiesta Island. It makes perfect sense because it's gonna be a party out here. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's a good time. Awesome. We've been out there quite a bit. We grew up in that area, man. Yeah, we've been there many times, so it's awesome. So good.
We have family reunions down there too, Mission Bay.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. We've had a mission at the Mission Bay Beach over there. Yeah. So it's been amazing. It's gonna be a good day. It's gonna be a good day.
Between two beards. I gotta love it.
That's right. Kyle committed. He's not gonna shave his beard. It's a playoff beard. So
it's a playoff beard.
He's gonna let that sucker rip. He's gonna be looking like ZZ Top at the end of the season.
That's right, baby.
I'm gonna buy you some beard cream for your birthday, bro.
Yeah,
I'm gonna buy you some beard cream.
Okay.
You gotta condition the thing.
Hey, you know what? Hey, if anyone's looking or wondering, yes, I have chips for beard creams and beard oils and beard bombs. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Beard bombs.
Hey, by the time your birthday comes around, that's like Super Bowl time. So
yeah, for real.
That's it. Maybe we'll be.
My birthday is on the Super Bowl. So I'm like, oh, you know what, man? I was just talking about that with Renee here. He's Renergy's right here at the house.
Awesome.
We're just talking about that. It's like, man, how sweet would it be if the Chargers made it to the Super Bowl for my birthday and win? Oh my gosh. That would be it. That's right there.
Well, even Gulnaz actually over here saying that shaving beard is not allowed too in the chat. So no,
that's right.
On the shave beard day.
The ladies love it. What's up? That's right.
I love it.
Oh man. Well, guys, we are going to actually Kyle once again. He's going to be at the Swoopin D beach party, Fiesta Island, down in San Diego. It's going to be a great time. Once again, he's on location there, and starting next week on Wednesday,
it's probably I think it's that one. Vacation Island.
3 Bolt Bros will be at training camp out in Costa Mesa. We'll be there Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday. Cannot wait to be out there with everybody out there. Seeing the team on field once again, seeing all the hype coming around for this team. I can't wait, but please do come on out to training camp also next week. But if you can make it to Fiesta Island down in San Diego, please come on down there and say what up to everybody. It's a great way to be able to get hyped to get ready for the season and such. So let's go. I'm excited. I can't wait.
It's going to be exciting. Yeah, shoot out your questions, folks. Again, we are talking 100% offense today, too.
Yep.
Let's do a real quick recap of the videos we did this week, but get your questions in. We got plenty of slides. We're going to go through this as well, too. So I did a video earlier this week why 2023 is so critical for the Los Angeles Chargers. Look, it boils down to money, right? Bosa, Mack, Allen Williams, expensive contracts. I think that's really one of the things I wanted to talk about. I think it's going to be really big. It's a run it back year. It's going to be an opportunity for these guys to go get a championship. And they're doing it on Herbert's contract, right? So, we all know Herbert's contract is still a conversation point. The whole Joe Burrow conversation is very important. He was signed before, or he was drafted before Justin Herbert. He's been to the Super Bowl, yada, yada. So, their agents are kind of playing chicken to decide who's going to blink first to see who signs that contract first because, it'd be very interesting to see how that all plays out. So, again, this is an extremely important year, as we all know. So, I'm excited for it. James, Kyle, any other thoughts on that?
The big thing about it, too, I mean, we talk a lot about the cuts and everything, too, but you also do have to look at 2025 and the amount of money we have available in 2025. We still have to build a team past this year. There's a possibility of doing even renegotiation or extensions of contracts. To be able to push out if really this season goes well, would they try to run it back with the same squad again? Would they try to be able to make it work? I mean, I know Justin Herbert's going to be thick. His contract's not going to be cheap. But at the same side, we could look at extensions. We could look at renegotiations. We could find ways to be able to push money around. But it is a big season regardless. And I think it's a big season for Tom Telesco and Brandon Staley on top of that.
Big time.
So
big
that's
time.
a big part of it. So
there's pressure there, right? There's pressure
Do you
there.
have any thoughts on that?
So, I mean, this is truly an all-in year. Because, I mean, realistically, like, I mean, most of our coaches have only had about 4 years as a head coach with the Chargers. And so this is now Brandon Staley's 4th year with us.
Yep.
Entering his 4th year. So, obviously, he's been a coach, but we want to go deeper into the playoffs and actually some playoff games and win essentially the FC Championship at best, obviously, you know. I mean, at least I would say I would love, you know, but that's a hard mountain to climb because of everything. But you know, having Kellen Moore on board now is really going to elevate us to a whole new level. So, and obviously, like you're talking about, these salary issues, salary cap issues are going to be a huge thing for us because, hey, like we're probably going to talk about, this team's going to be very different next year. So, we need to make a lot of stuff happen this year, or else, you know, it's what are we going to do next year? I mean, they'll figure it out, and I believe that they will. But you know, Tom Telesco's had about 10 years with his team, and you know, we haven't seen a whole lot from him. So maybe it's the end for him. I don't know. There's a whole lot going on that we can't quite figure out, and we're still trying to figure out where this tailgate's at. So we're circling around Mission Bay right now. So
that's funny.
But we're here.
Okay. Okay. Cool.
That's funny.
Kyle, yeah, go back on mute, man. It's a lot of background noise too. So just so you know, appreciate it. Okay, thank you. Yeah. So James, we could talk a little bit about your video real fast as well too, and then go from there.
Yeah. So I did a video on the state of the 2023 Chargers and just kind of talk about the team as a whole and kind of what we have in front of us. And, you know, like just what I alluded to, I mean, this is a big year for Brandon Staley and Tom Telesco to really get it right. I mean, Tom Telesco has been with this team now going into his 11th year. Brandon Staley's in his 3rd year. You know, this is basically would be the 3rd head coach under Tom Telesco. You know, we've had really good drafts in the last 2 years. I feel Telesco has gotten a lot more heat than I don't think he needs to have. I think he's done a good job last couple of years, but I think that's also the Brandon Staley effect too. I think he's really guided Tom Telesco around and did a good job to be able to get the right players for the system. And so it makes me think about the other coaches under Telesco. Were they just giving Telesco the reins, and then it was like, hey, we'll fit it in the system some way or another, and not really thinking about the right player for the right position kind of thing or right system. So going over all the offense, defense, and everything too, you know, the whole root of this whole team is got to stay healthy. There's plenty about this team to like. There's a lot of people on ESPN, all the quote unquote experts are just like, hey, we say it every year with this team. Great team, just can't stay healthy. And that's the root of this season. If we could stay freaking healthy, this team will be dynamite. And so that's really it. But I mean, we have plenty of depth. We got great depth on the wide receiver side of things. Defensively, cornerbacks, I think, could be a huge strength with this team, especially if JC Jackson comes back, which is one thing I'm really going to watch on training camp day 1. I want to see if JC Jackson's going to be on field already. That would be a massive, massive jump, because he did also have a doctor's appointment about his knee back in June. They kind of didn't talk too much about it if he's been cleared to play. So obviously day 1 will tell us a lot on what's going on with JC Jackson. So there's a lot to like about this team, a lot of depth about this team. I think there's a lot of excitement with this team. And I think it's kind of nice to be somewhat under the radar this year. But just having the same talent that we got the hype from last year, plus added more firepower. So
sounds good.
It's exciting. It's exciting.
So we're going to get you guys' questions as well too, folks. I just think I would just add one thing too, right? I am happy with Justin. Obviously, I'm going to do a video on Justin Herbert on Monday, talking about what he's done well in his career already, and then what I think Kellen Moore will help as far as him progressing to the next level, right? I think there's some things that he can do to improve and do better. Last year was obviously a weird year for us as well too. Having said that, I think that I think the biggest thing I like about Brandon Staley, he's finally got the Spanos family spending money. Secondarily, the GM, the entire organization is on the same page. They're making decisions together as a group, and they're making decisions as a plan. Because if you look at this draft that we had last season, think of it this way. We did not re-sign Kenneth Murray's fifth-year contract. And guess what? We got Deion Henley. Everyone is hyped on Deion Henley. A lot of people had him as the number one linebacker in the draft. So across the board, they did a great job. And they're not just focusing on offense. Darius Davis for special teams, but he will be a part of the offense as well, too. So we'll talk all about that as well, too. So I've been very happy with our leadership. That's what I've liked. I think, again, we're talking a little bit more about this. I'm going to talk more about this on Monday. Kellen Moore is going to bring it to the next level. Okay, so let's go to some of the questions here. So, Kevin, we are going to be talking about the undrafted rookies. Right now, the one that seems to be balling out, at least what we keep talking about, is our boy Pokey. I was going to say Poiky. Poiky. Yeah. So, no, a lot of people are really liking him. I mean, the guy seems to be explosive, you know.
Crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
And look, we've got some guys on the depth. We're going to go through the depth chart as well that they might not sign again. We might say, sorry, you know, Pokey beat you out or whatever, and that's it.
Yeah, we'll talk about that depth chart for sure, because there's a lot to talk about on that position, specifically that whole wide receiver room.
Yep.
So this is Ather's question. I want to start with my coach. Don't fool yourself. He is the leader in charge of him. He's going to tell the OC and Herbert to go for it for the kill later. I'll explain in your thoughts. I would assume you're talking more about the 4th and Staley thing. And look, I really think Brandon Staley's going to be 100% on top of that. He did not care. You know, Kellen Moore has obviously said, I want to light up the scoreboard. So I think that's a good point.
We got an offense that you can't stop. Why not? You know, once you pop, you can't stop, like a can of Pringles, baby.
All gas, no brakes, baby. All gas, no brakes.
That's right. I thought you said something else, dude. Gas.
All ass, no brakes? Yeah, all ass, no brakes.
Yo, what?
That's part of my dating profile. That's my dating profile. No big deal.
This is stupid.
So, yeah, Willie, you know, you're good point, right? I mean, you know, I think a lot about that with Allen, or no, sorry, it was Williams who got hurt in that Broncos game right before the playoff game, you know. So, look, it is what it is. You know, we've all seen the excuses as to what happened, and they wanted to have some momentum going. And again, man, Allen Williams had not been on the field a whole lot all season, right? Yep. So, you know, they had not been playing together. So I don't know. I could see both. I could see both things going.
And the thing about it is like, I get both sides of it. And, you know, it's just an unfortunate event that happened. And I mean, the thing is that we went over Mike Williams and his injuries in the past, and he has a lot of back injuries for some reason. And I kind of watched a little bit of how he plays, and tends to be a lot of 50-50 balls where he catches at the pinnacle and he lands a lot on his back and like his lower backside and stuff. So, you know, obviously the more you keep doing that, the more your body will get beat up, the more susceptible it is to injuries and such. And so, you know, but it is kind of a sheer bad luck for us, but that's the Chargers. That's the Chargers. That's kind of what we've done.
100%, guys. And again, we are talking about the offense today. And we are going to focus on the offense. Last week was defense. So maybe let's show the slide, James, and then we'll go from there. As you're pulling this up, I'll just answer Antoine's question real quick. Again, talking offense today. JC Jackson's looking pretty good. The rumors are he's actually going to be ready to rock. So I'm pretty hyped about that. He's looking really, really good. I actually think he'll probably be a day one starter. I don't suspect there'll be any issues. So
yeah, he's at that point of about 8 months, I think, since his injury, which they said it's a 6 to 8 month kind of injury. Right. And now, once again, patellar tendons, there's a lot of guys that have blown that out and have not been able to come back at all.
It's a tough one.
I really think that JC Jackson, and now once again, we're not tied to the Chargers directly. We don't see JC Jackson working out. We see clips of him But I mean, the way I'm seeing it as in the last off-season training camp, he was out there running around, kind of going back and forth. It was a little slow on the back pedal, but has looked good on the forward run. So there is a little bit there that I'm going to be hopefully keeping a very close eye on when we go to training camp on Wednesday. So, and for the first 3 days too. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. I mean, I think JC Jackson should be ready, in my opinion. So we'll see. I'm not a doctor, so don't take medical advice from me.
Yeah.
But let's get into the offense here, guys. Even to say James over here talked about James Bauer says, hey, I put blame on Stanley too for that last game. Should have told Lombardi, come on, man, stop with the dink and dunk offense and first downs and points on the board. You should have just kind of ran a little bit more. I mean, we kind of were just. It was another game that somebody kind of brought up too. It was actually the Falcons Super Bowl when they were up on the Patriots. Good, huge lead. What did they end up doing? Screwing themselves up because they didn't just run the ball and try to run the dang clock out. Now, we didn't have the best run game by any means, and we'll talk about that later on here in this video and kind of go over the stats and such, but that is a hard part of our offense last year that we just could not figure out. Now, was that Lombardi to blame? Was that Austin Eckler? Was that the run game in general and just not good design? Who knows? But it was a lot of times that we were just not really progressive at all, first down runs, and kind of put us into third and long kind of situations. Yeah, that we just couldn't get past that point. So but either way, offense. A lot to like about this offense this upcoming year. I mean, a lot of depth all around with this team. You got seemingly a healthy Justin Herbert. We got Rashawn Slater back, who's going to be massive for us, by the way. You got movement on the O-line too, where you're putting Jamari on the right guard with Zion on the left guard now. Corey Linsley in the middle with bringing Trey Pipkins to the right tackle. I mean, and wide receiver depth is ridiculous on this team.
Yeah. Well, and I think when we talk wide receiver too, though, we're going to see a lot of rotation. Allen, Williams, Palmer, Q. I just look, because one thing that I've always said about our coaching staff, and I know Brandon Staley likes this, he likes to keep people healthy for the fourth quarter for the push, right?
Yep.
So my thought is keep Allen, give Williams out there, rotate players around, right? Move people around, like let Q take. He's got young legs, man. I mean, look, you and I, we're getting old, man. I'll tell you what, my back hurts. Everything hurts. Everything creaks and crumbles. It sucks. And Allen and Williams are right there. I mean, those guys have been beat up all the time, right? Yeah. So use the young legs for a while. Like get them out there, let them do their thing for a bit, right? I mean, it just makes more sense to me.
And it was interesting for Marcus to bring out this comment too. Josh Palmer's in his prime. It should be have his best season, fully featuring Slayer in the slot. Hope to see 60 to 7% of Keenan snaps there. So I've had this thought, and we've talked a little bit briefly about this and how this is a critical season for us because of next year. Things could happen and change. Josh Palmer could step up into that Keenan Allen role. That's where things could kind of shift for him next year. That's where things could kind of move around where you say, hey, you got Josh Palmer here, who did have a very good season. He actually essentially had a career season with the Chargers last year. If he could kind of fit into that mold, hey, you never know. I mean, Josh Palmer was a little bit injured in this offseason training timeline too. So something was going on there. He really wasn't working out too much. Who knows what's happening there, but let's see how that goes on Wednesday and seeing if he's on field and such too. So
yeah, and guys, just we'll let Kyle come back in once he settles down at a spot. I know he was just really choppy. The video, his quality was just kind of all over the place. So, so James Bauer, this is a good point. Yeah, if you score 30, which man, I'd love to score 30. I mean, 100%, and then obviously have a decent running game. Life is good, right? And that's really where Lombardi struggled. I felt like he always came in with a plan and never adjusted his plan ever, right?
Yeah.
Zone reads, gap schemes on the run. He didn't adjust. You know who does that? Is Kellen Moore. Kellen Moore is fantastic at adjusting because he knows they're running a bear front, they're running a 5-man front, 2 linebackers. All right, zone read runs the best against it, right? They know what plays are going to work well against what they're seeing defensively. So whatever team does defensively against us, they're going to go with the matchups they think is going to give them an advantage. Now, of course, Lombardi did the same. Okay, let's not fool ourselves. The difference is his philosophies and how he wants to manage that is going to be different, right? That's why player callers are very important. So I think it's a really good point. And then Aether's got a question here before we go to the next slide. This is for you, I guess, James.
Yep. My first question, James, is Kellen Moore on the hot seat. I asked this because our offense was horrible last year and they're expecting a lot from him. Let me hear my bro. Yeah, we'll chat a little bit more about that here shortly. Sure. And there's a lot of hype. There's a lot of hype. There's a lot to like about Kellen Moore being here. I mean, and to give fairness to Lombardi did have a pretty fair first season. Last season, he got the short end of the stick because there's a lot of injuries at critical positions. So, I mean, it could have been a totally different offense all around for us. But, unfortunately, the NFL stands for not for long, and, you get the boot every now and then because of other injuries happening. But to Andy's point, too, he talked a little bit about, how Kellen Moore can make adjustments. And that's a big thing that you need as an offensive coordinator, guy who could adjust accordingly.
100%. And again, we need to establish the run game. Again, Marty Ball. And again, here's the thing, too. I really felt like the line was not great last year. Rashawn Slater going down was not good. We had people out of positions that were not in their natural spots. I think this next season could be a lot better. And they're going to simplify things as well, too. And I think this is going to be a good point. A kill them all, take them team. I really believe it's going to be a big thing for him, too. The biggest problem, though, with Allen is his age and his injury proneness, right? That's where, guys, next year, if you watch my video, I think he's set to make $35 million next year. Same with Williams. Bananas money, guys. So these guys right here, Allen Williams, probably not going to be here, in 2024. It is what it is, right? So,
it's a lot of money. I mean, we got to find a way to be able to work with that, but that's down the road. Let's talk about 2023. We got him on the team. And obviously Allen looks like a great receiver, great feet still. I do think that there's a hard drop off on players sometimes with their catching ability and their hands get a little bit older and, and such. So we'll see where it goes from there. So,
exactly. Perfect. All right. Go to the next slide and then we'll go from there. Okay. I think this is our depth chart slide, isn't it?
No, this is actually going to be our stats from 2022 for our offense last year. So we did about 6,108 yards total, which brought us to about 359.3 yards per game. So, I mean, we were ranked here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9th in the league as total yards. So it's not like we didn't have a lack of throwing the ball by any means, but if you do look at the 1 and 3 position, you look at, the Chiefs are there. The Eagles are there. The Bills, obviously, they were there. Niners were there. Which is shocking to think about that because they've had a lot of adjustments for quarterbacks. Brock Purdy balled out. And then you look at pretty much all of these squads on here, all were in the playoffs outside of the Lions. You need to throw a lot of yards per game. You need a high average. And, I want to say that if you looked at, let me pull this up here.
So James, but the glaring issue there too is 23 points per game.
100%.
We sucked in the red zone. And guys, this is where here's the thing. This is where I struggle with Joe Lombardi. He was terrible in the red zone. This is where Kellen Moore is very good. If you look at the Cowboys, I think you might be pulling that up now. Cowboys led the league in red zone efficiency with Dak Prescott. Everyone would argue is not as good as a quarterback as Justin Herbert. We all know that, right? So it's one of those things where that's what we're expecting as a fan base to see some sort of production, or at least a better production in the red zone is what we're wanting to see. So, it's a big conversation. It's a big conversation.
Yeah, and that's a glaring point for sure. The points per game. Just to give you a contrast, Dallas was at about 27 points per game. You understand how different that will be for a game of a win-loss. On top of that, our rushing was one of the lowest in the league, under 90 yards, 89.6 rushing yards per game. To contrast, Dallas was at about 135 yards per game. You understand how different that could be for how a game is played out. If you have a run and pass offense, a very balanced game at that point, this could be a totally different season for us. 27 points versus our defense at 22 points giving up. You realize that's a 5-point gap right there. That could have been a massive difference between a win and a loss.
Yep. That's why every game was close. And that's the problem, right? And again, this is why an offensive coordinator, again, it was a couple of weeks ago, I talked about the difference between a head coach that's a defensive-minded head coach and an offensive-minded head coach. That's why an offensive-minded head coach usually has more value than a defensive-minded head coach, just because you want to keep the continuity of the actual players. Okay, Kyle, let's keep you off until you actually set up, buddy. Okay, there we go. So Aether, yes. Keenan's, let's see.
I don't have my tripod. I'm not going to be set up. Just showing everybody the tailgate. We out here. Yeah.
Nice.
We out here, baby.
Okay. Let's go.
Okay.
Did you just click them out, dude?
No. He just did that himself. I think, Kyle, okay, Kyle. All right. So let me get to the question here. I have great feelings for Keenan this year. I actually think he could have a great season, right? But again, the argument is getting a little older, right? And he's getting paid a lot of money to catch balls, right? And don't get me wrong. I think he's going to be fantastic. They are going to rotate him. I really don't believe they're just going to keep him out there all the time. I think he'll get less snaps. I think Williams will get less snaps with Q out there specifically, and Palmer. I think they'll use all those guys. And Darius Davis. It's going to be really interesting to see. So, yeah. This is a question by Leo, and then we'll go to the next slide, because I think the next slide is actually the actual depth chart. So, James, what do you thought about this whole zone scheme? I'm actually a big fan of it. I think he'll do really well in the zone scheme.
You know,
we did it with Lombardi. The problem is he would go gap and then he'd go zone, and he just never really. His game planning was terrible. That was my frustration. Yep.
Well, there really wasn't much help at all. It seemed like anytime that he did a run, it was kind of more just like, it's on the running back to be able to figure things out, not putting in basically some blockers in front of him. It just felt very, very dull and boring, and it just didn't seem to work at all. So, I mean, it's going to be interesting, because I know there was some weird, rumor that Austin Eckler was possibly going to get traded. And that's kind of a crazy little idea going into training camp. Now, once again, maybe they look and say, hey, Joshua Kelly, who we chatted with last week, he was just like, hey, man, I'm ready to make it happen. This is my career, or this is my contract year. I got to make it happen this year. And so, if you see Isaiah Spiller, who they drafted last year, maybe if these guys are doing maybe a better fit for Kellen Moore's whole offense and his scheme, who knows? Eckler's a great guy where he gets a lot of touchdowns for us, but we do need to be able to find a way to establish a run with this team.
Yeah,
period.
For sure.
We need that.
Yeah, and it's a good point. Yep, you got to have balance. 60-40 is what Tom Telesco keeps saying. It makes a lot of sense to me. 60-40 pass to run makes a lot of sense. Good to see you guys.
Yeah,
hey.
You got
Herbert
Pride 602.
Bold Pride 602. What's up, guys?
Let's go.
I don't know that they're going to let Herbert run the ball a ton. I don't think they want him to get hurt. I think they might a little bit here and there. Chargers Weekly talked about Horvath a little bit. I think it's an interesting thing to think about, because I don't know how he fits well within it. Matt Money Smith talked quite a bit about this. He's like, I don't know how he fits well within Kellen Moore's system. I would be really sad to see him go, because I think he's good. They won't let him go. I doubt it. But I think he needs to prove himself on special teams specifically, right?
Big time. I mean, the thing about it is that there's a lot of really good talent on this team. And we could talk a little bit more about that depth chart side of things too, because, does the scheme want to have a fullback? I mean, a fullback is a dying breed type position in the NFL. And
Big time.
I do think Horvath's an awesome player, but at the same side, like if you got a guy that might be another dude that could just really fill a big gap or add more talent to this team, I mean, who knows? I mean, I think that woo! There's Pablo. What up?
Pablo.
What up, dude?
Man. That's so good seeing you guys again. Like this is why we do this, right? If this doesn't get you excited for the season, I don't know what will, folks. Right? Am I right? Come on, now,
dude. This is the best thing. I can't wait to be there. I can't wait to be there at training camp, man. It's going to be a great time. Can't wait. that's why people do these like Swoopin D's doing this right now. This is a hyped up type, party to basically get the season going, man. Like this is very, very exciting. Very exciting to see.
Good point here, Kyle, too. It'll be interesting to see what they do with him in camp. I'm very curious to see how they line him up.
Yeah.
I think he could do a lot of different things.
Yep.
So I'm very excited. Again, Horvath's going to be one of the guys I'm going to be looking for because I do think there's a whole lot. And again, Lombardi, I was so frustrated with him. We don't have to talk about him much more anymore. But
I'm done with that guy. I don't want to talk
about him.
Remember we went into training camp day one. We're like, is that Lombardi walking down the street?
Lombardi? Shoot, man.
What was that?
Ran him over with the car, dude. Come on now.
You want to go?
That's a good point. Yeah, go to the next slide. Yeah, and this is a good point. While James is pulling up the next slide, short yard specialist. I love the idea of that. Look, he's a big dude, man. He's a big guy. He used to be a linebacker, so there's a lot there to talk about, right? So very exciting.
Yeah, it's, and that's what training camp's all about. It's all about figuring out a player position and where he could be at and where he could fit. I mean, we'll see. So we pulled up the current depth chart of this team, and you know what? We start with the wide receivers here, guys. Like, I mean, the amount of depth that we have there is insane.
It's crazy.
And you got Pokey Wilson, who's getting all this hype. Like, he's getting a lot of hype right now. Like, Terrell Bynum, that's another guy that's been a little bit more talk about him too. I know we've done some videos on it, but realistically, if you think about it, obviously you got your Mike Williams, Quentin Johnston. That was great. Keenan Allen, Josh Palmer, they're locks. Now, Darius Davis, he's going to be there because he's obviously a draft pick. Like, he's a guy that has to be on this team. Jalen Guyton, that's one thing that we signed him before speed. We need to know his knee is good. Like, that's bottom line how it works. The thing about Pokey Wilson, you've seen some of his, like, highlight catches. I mean, the guy seems like an absolute stud. Florida State guy. A guy that has a lot of Florida State, dudes on this team, by the way. It's one of those things that he needs to find a way to step up through special teams first. But in preseason, that's his ticket to show that he can be a wide receiver relied on.
Yep.
Now, are we going to hold 7 wide receivers on the 53-man squad?
Who knows, man?
I don't know. But right now, essentially, it's like the battle for Jalen Guyton's position. So, like, that's really it. If Jalen Guyton's knee is not 100% and doesn't have the speed that he had, that's where Pokey Wilson might be that dude that could kind of find a way, slide right up into that position, dude. So,
well, and I think 2 people's jobs here are probably in jeopardy. Keelan Doss and John Hightower, I would say also. Yep. I just don't feel they've never really been on the field. I think Doss was on the Giants. Didn't we scoop him up last year?
Yeah, I think he was on the Raiders or something too. Or
that's right. He was Raiders. Yeah. And so I think Pokey Wilson has a shot of making at least the practice squad for sure, a depth piece, right? But I think this is where we might see John Hightower and Keelan Doss maybe go. And who knows, right? Again, this team wants to get young. We clearly are very old. We have a lot of veteran contracts that are going to have to be sort of adjusted after the season, right? Again, it doesn't really matter a whole lot right now, but it's a big part of the conversation. So let's just talk about the line at this point. And guys, keep throwing your questions out as well too. Go ahead.
You got Rashawn Slater back. How big is that?
So hyped.
Yep. Starting line is Rashawn Slater, left tackle, left guard, Zion Johnson, Corey Lindsley at center, Jamari Sawyer, my man, and Trey Pipkins at right tackle. So the right side is great. They've chatted a lot about the left side just being the absolute just strength of this line. It's great to be able to see we have this team. And really the thing is, though, Rashawn Slater makes a massive difference to the run game. I mean, there is no doubt about that, guys. And so it's great to see him out there. It sucks that if we would have won that Jags game, he probably would have been activated for, the divisional game. It would have been good to be able to get him one game under his belt, but hey, this is where we're at now. And then we got our backups, our Foster Sorrell, who I think is getting better. And I've watched a couple of his games from last year, and he didn't do bad. He did not do bad. Now, I'll say this with the Brandon Hymus slated at left guard. I think that's kind of one of those guys that's on the potential point of getting cut this season. Andrew Trainer's been out there. Will Clapp got re-signed. Jordan McFadden could probably fill in that position too. Zach Bailey. Like, those guys are out there and hungry. And Brandon Hymas hasn't really done enough to really show that he is ready. Now, you hope that this is the point, though, where he could really, really kind of step up when necessary. And you think of 3 years in now in the NFL, he's figured it out. So,
yeah, that's true.
We'll see. See where he ends up going. And
the one thing I will say, too, Jordan McFadden, I'm really hyped for that guy, right? Because he kind of reminds me of Jamari Salyer in the sense that he's kind of played all over the line. Dude, he had like 3,200 snaps or something like that at Clemson. And he's played everywhere, right? And you need a guy like that can just plug and play. That goes a long way, right? Like, okay, perfect example. Pipkins had injuries last season. What if Jordan McFadden stepped in for Pipkins if he goes down? Right? That could happen, guys, right? But the nice thing is Jordan McFadden's good enough that he probably could step in. Now, that would probably be Foster Sorrell. It sounds like that's mostly going to be his role. Because he came in for Pipkins last season, I believe, on the right tackle. So, but again, depending on camp, how that plays out, right? I do think that's going to be a very interesting thing. And I think Foster Sorrell was like one of the highest recruited linemen ever out of high school. Like, I mean, the guy was supposed to be the man. He's been good, but again, he's got a lot of things to learn. So,
and he's been working out with Duke Manyweather too. So he's been out there working with those guys. So you'd hope that that's going to be helping out with his like technique and everything too. And Rashawn's been doing that too. So it's one of those things, and Trey Pipkins too. So a lot of the O-line has been really, really working with him and really just getting some good guidance and training. So, moving on to tight ends group, Gerald Everett, he keeps having career years after career years. He's another threat on this team. I mean, some people wanted to be able to go tight end. I get it. I know we talked a little bit about it too for the draft. We didn't. We felt pretty good about Gerald Everett, a guy that has actually done pretty well for us. And then Donald Parham re-signing him to a 2-year contract.
Yeah. Got to keep that guy healthy, man. Got to
more
keep him
size.
healthy.
Yeah. And that guy could be healthy. Just adding more size all around for the red zone side of things too.
And Trey, I was just going to say, Trey hasn't really been the best blocker, but that's kind of what he was brought in here for. And you got to wonder how they're going to use him for that. I mean, I'm kind of hoping he has a breakout year, even if he's just a better blocker.
Just better, just more efficient. And Stone Smart's been a guy that was on the squad. I think he was on the field and got a couple catches last season. Nothing too big about it, but that's our tight ends currently right now. And the thing is, though, if you go back to Dallas Cowboys, he did utilize tight ends quite a bit over there. So we'll see where it pans out with them. But moving on to the quarterback, this is pretty self-explanatory. Justin Herbert, one of the best quarterbacks in the league. I mean, you can't say anything about that. We know who he is. Easton Stick now being that 2 guy. He's finally got his opportunity to be the 2 guy. And it'll be interesting to see with not having Chase Daniels there and how that affects Justin Herbert, if he really was that coach guy or not. So we'll see.
So one thing I'll say about our quarterbacks, and I actually think we could see them come in on running plays. We could see some wildcat, maybe some other things with these guys, because by the way, they call it a Brock Purdy rule, right? Where you can have 50 on your 53-man roster, your third quarterback does not count as a person for your 53-man roster. So if Dugan's a free play, why not put him out there? He's a really athletic guy. He's fast. A lot like a Taysom Hill, right? And so why not move him around? Maybe, use him as a little bit of a kind of a trick play type of guy. He comes out, sort of like a Taysom Hill type of guy. Again, will they do it? Who knows? But, maybe they'll put him in for running plays. And guys, remember, I picked it. 7th round pick. Remember this? I said, we're going to pick Max Dugan. And again, the reason why I thought about that was he's a baller, made it to the national championship game, and he's just a gritty dude that can just make it happen. And he's the type of guy this team wants, right? He's a leader. Yeah. And so I was pretty hyped that they got him. Plus, I also knew we wanted 3 quarterbacks. Why not make your 7th round pick a good pick? I think Dugan's the right guy, so I'm excited about him.
Thought it was an interesting comment here with Kyle Shellhammer. Reminds me of Mariota. And I could see that. I could totally see that. Sure. Just a guy that can move with the ball in his hands. And the Raiders utilized him when he was a second quarterback for that reason. So, so it'll be interesting to see what they do with those kind of guys. And I mean, the thing is, though, Easton Stick's got some elusiveness to him. I remember a couple of years ago in preseason, I mean, LT kept talking about it. He's like, this guy's got something. Like, he has something. There's something about this guy that just kind of knows what he's doing. It was kind of inconsistent on his quarterback play, but he just found ways to be able to get the ball in the end zone.
100%.
So,
100%.
And moving on to the running backs, Austin Eckler, we know who he is. He's one of the best in the league. Gets nose for the end zone, but from this point, it's about Joshua Kelly and Isaiah Spiller stepping up somewhere or another. Isaiah Spiller really kind of had a little bit of an offseason, didn't really have too much go well in his way to where he could have a lot of touches, but he did get a few. Joshua Kelly had a little bit of injury bug, but was efficient when he had the ball in his hands. And then Larry Roundtree, we'll see where he's at. He's kind of getting lost in the shuffle at this point. We do have also some running backs too. I think it was Dotson. I think is another guy that we have as an undrafted free agent guy who's a running back, I think from Colorado, I believe. We got some other undrafted free agents there. So there's going to be a little push around there, and then rounded out with fullback with Xander Horvath as a fullback. So it's a lot here to see kind of what's going on. We got a really good squad all around. So I'm excited.
Good point. Good point with Guyton here too. Big fan of Guyton. I think Guyton's great. I think he'll be fine. I'm not too concerned about him. Kevin, our healthy wide receiver, tight end, running court, dilemmas for opposing defenses. Big time. We've talked about it. Like, we struggle. Okay. Why did Austin Eckler get so many damn balls last year? We had no wide receivers to throw the ball to, period. We just didn't. And actually, Eckler talked about that, I think, on the Rich Eisen show. He's like, yeah, well, we don't have anybody to throw the ball to. So, Eckler, you're going to be getting at least 10 receptions a game. And we just never deviated from that game plan because we had so many stinking injuries, right? So if we could just stay healthy, we'll be fine. I think Dicker will probably still make the team. I think he's still going to be the guy because he's younger too, specifically. But our other boy is still in there as well too. Why am I drawing a blank on his name all of a sudden? The other kicker.
Oh
my gosh.
Hopkins.
Yes. Hopkins. Yes.
Justin Hopkins. Yeah.
That's it. There
Hopkins,
you are.
Remember, I kept messing up the name all the time.
That's right. That's so funny. Funny.
D-Hop.
Yep. That's exactly this point. Okay, here we go. And again, Kyle, like I said, I can see some shake and bake, some sort of interesting things that they do with him. And you're right. Sony Michel last year was a mistake as well too. It'll be interesting to see if we do go sign anybody. Again, you guys all know that I've been a big fan of John Johnson. But I think it's a money issue with him at this moment, right? I think he probably wants more money. So, who knows, right?
I think a fair amount of running backs available out there, like Fournette, I think it was Robinson who was the running back for the Jets who got let go. And then he was on the Jags before that. He just got signed by the Giants. It seems like a very, very minimal contract. I mean, Melvin Gordon got signed for $3.1 million. Now, is it really a necessary signing? I'm not sure, but that's what preseason training camp kind of figures it out, But
and I'm really happy with our running back room. I mean, look, you got Austin Eckler, who's one of the best running backs in the league. We all know that. He is probably going to be getting some light work. Again, I do not think he's going to have the same season he's had the last 2 seasons. I think that the ball is going to get spread around a lot. So he's not going to get what he got last season. His incentives that he got, not going to be there for him this year, in my opinion, but that's just my opinion.
Well, we got so much height at the wide receiver position, and then plus the tight end. Like even through depth of our team, we have so much depth there. Now, to be determined, I know Aimbot's over here saying what could go wrong will go wrong. We're talking about the Chargers here. I'm not buying any Chargers hype this year. And man, we're a jaded fan base, and it's hard to be a Chargers fan. That's for dang sure.
Hey, I'll tell you what though. It's also hard to be a Cowboys fan. Those guys walk around acting like, they're walking on water or whatever. I mean, come on now. You got Dak Prescott. That guy is not going to take you to the promised land, dude. It's just not going to happen, man.
No.
So,
well, you want to jump to the next slide here? We'll kind of move along here. So going from the depth chart, one of the things that we talked about was our new offensive coordinator, and PFF ranks top 10 offensive coordinators, and voila, Kellen Moore, number 2.
Voila.
So, the thing about it is like, look, like he has a phenomenal ability this year with this squad being healthy to be able to put him at a higher level and put him at a position where he could be a head coach somewhere else. Like, it's amazing about what he has on his table. Ben Johnson last year for the Lions did a phenomenal job.
Did a great
with
job.
That team. And
I read some interesting articles on him. Yep.
Jared Goff, I mean, he was balling last year. Hey, just throwing out there, that's kind of that low-key guy that you might want to throw on a stash late pick. Get a Jared Goff on your fantasy teams. I think he could have a massive year this year.
By the way, I love number 9, dude. Jim Bob Cooter. What a great name. What a great name. I mean, that just cracks me up. Every time I saw it, I was like, oh my God, hilarious. By the way, Matt Nagy, dude, how is this guy on the list? He was not going to call plays. Yeah. I mean, that's kind of annoying to me that he's even on the list. He's there because he's on the Chiefs, you know. But it's like, come on, dude.
It's the same about Eric Bieniemy being over at Washington, whatever the name of that team will be. Eric Bieniemy, was he really the guy calling the plays? I mean, the guy has interviewed for multiple other jobs everywhere else, and nobody picked him up for a reason. I mean,
100%.
Andy Reid's got a lot of hold on that offense, by the way. And big so, interesting thing about, and I'm going to say with this thing, the hype of Kellen Moore is real with this team, like 100%. I think he's going to not have McCarthy over his shoulder anymore. I think he's going to have his own playbook. I think he's going to cater this offense to the players specifically. And I think he's going to just do a phenomenal job with this team. Now, I'm going to continue on one more screenshot here. So this is Steve Young. If you remember the history of the Niners and the Cowboys in the 90s, there's still bad blood there one way or another. But this is a quote from Steve Young. The Niners have a head coach who is innovative as anybody in the league. Of course, he'll say that about his team that he played for. At a time when the Cowboys last year are running a 2015 plays and don't have a chance. Now, is he basing that on McCarthy being 2015 McCarthy back in the days, or is he saying that as Kellen Moore being 2015 type plays? Was Kellen Moore being handcuffed a little bit by McCarthy's play calls and play styles or plays that he drew up, or was it Kellen Moore making the plays? Who knows?
I'm just going to say this. We're going to find out real quick, folks. We're going to find out real quick. Yeah. I mean, so you could sit back all day and say, okay, what was he doing? It's hilarious. Everyone I talk to is a Cowboys fan. They're like, oh, we got Kellen Moore as our offensive coordinator. It's like, oh, Kellen Moore, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, dude, you realize how well he did with a pretty bad team. Yeah. And Dak Prescott. I mean, you got some good wide receivers. You can argue that Zeke is good, but you had Pollard. Look, they have one of the best offensive lines, and they took advantage of that. They did a very good job with that, right? We're going to see how our offensive line fares up pretty soon. Having said that, Brandon Staley clearly is like, I love this guy. I want him to kick ass and just blow teams out of the water. I promise you, he's not going to hold him back at all. The argument is Mike McCarthy held him back. And I think that's what you're getting at, James, is that he held him back. So we're going to see how it works. Hopefully it's not a failed experiment, right? That's kind of the concern I have. But I think he's going to do it. I think he's going to do it, man. I think it's going to be good stuff.
I mean, you look at it and just like the stats don't lie. You know, he's had a whole heck of a lot of success of being an offensive coordinator, multiple top offenses in the league. How can you basically say that's a bad move? That's the whole thing. Kyle seems like he's established over there with his beard.
There he is.
Did you have any comments, anything like that about Kellen Moore there, Kyle?
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know. I think the biggest thing is with the Cowboys. I mean, how much I know, like, there's music behind. This is the best I can do to find the quiet spot.
Sure.
I mean, obviously, the Chargers fans are super hyped out here, So we all, just talking to out here, a good big show, and I think Kellen Moore would be a huge piece of that. Because the answer that he's going to bring to the table, with the Chargers and the
Kyle, you're
now.
breaking up. You're breaking up really bad, Kyle. You're breaking up really, really bad. Sorry, buddy.
Yeah, it's like
it's just
like
it's really
okay.
We're hearing every
Sorry,
word you're saying. You're underwater. Yeah, sorry, man.
Yeah,
so really bad. It's just bad. Sorry.
Okay. Well,
sorry.
That sucks. Let me see if I can.
It's just really bad.
See if I can chat.
Yep.
Not much.
Okay.
But it's gonna be good. All good. Everything's good for the Chargers.
Okay.
Yep.
Thanks, bro.
Let's go.
Appreciate it. Yep. Yeah. Hey guys, this is live TV, right? You got to enjoy it, right? So
that's how it is.
It is what it is. Yep. And and again, why we do this is Kyle can be out. If I was in California, I would be there at a heartbeat as well too. So
100%.
But I'm not. So we will be there next week, 100%. So please come out and see us. We're going to be doing as much as we possibly can. So, yeah. Oh, actually, let's go to some questions real quick too, James. Oh, here we go. I guess. And we've got quite a few questions here. I know James.
Marcus,
week 2
GoPro
is
underwater.
I know. Yeah, it was just. Oh man. Okay, this is your question from Aether, James.
So James, let me talk about week 2 versus the week 2. Wait, we don't have week 2 versus the Chiefs. First in goal under 4 minutes. The game before pick 6. Oh, from last year. Okay. Tight end waved out and to call a timeout. What we do in this is why my coach is in charge. The thing about it is, yeah, he is in charge, but also at the same side, there is a point where you could blame it on both people. Because I mean, when a player's like, dude, I'm done. Like, I got to get out. I got to step out of this. And then also too, it seemed like the play call was almost designed for him, but he wasn't even ready for that at all. That was what basically changed the game. And in charge, you could also say, what up, what up? You could also say though that that cost the game for if it was Brandon Staley's call to say stay in there. And who knows what would have been different if you throw a timeout real quick on a critical point of the game, or basically do a quick rotation, put in whoever you can at that moment in time, or do a play call that doesn't have a design tight end in that position. That's the other side of it. So yes, in charge, sure, but it could have been in charge for the wrong reason.
Yep. So, and then you're right. Staley's going to have his fingerprints on everything. I agree.
Yep.
I agree. And the wheel route, you're right, with Eck. It was weird how we got away from that. I was kind of surprised that we did. In fact, man, it was odd the way we kind of got stuck doing the same thing over and over again last season. Like everything was so predictable, predictable. And it just really bothered me. Yeah. Here we go. Marcus Eck needs backup. Nepotism. I agree. I do really think though that Josh Kelly was great until he got hurt, by the way. He was 4.7 yards a carry, and then he got hurt, right? And then I also really think having Sony Michel in our backfield at the beginning of the season really hurt us as well. It kind of hurt with our continuity, in my opinion. So
the chemistry seemed off for some reason.
And you're right, Marcus. Niners have a great defense. And, dude, they make the offense simple, right? Brock Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant, came in and balled out. He didn't have to do a whole lot, right? So, look, Stick is going to be the number 2 guy right now. I mean, unless something really bad happens, I do think Stick will be the guy. So
it seems like the guy.
I would like to see. I would definitely like to see them use them a little bit in some different plays. So that'd be sick.
Look at that helmet. That's a Herbert, Allen, and what was it? Our tight end that we had, whatever his name was. But that's pretty sick. That's a sick triple signed helmet right there. That was sick.
Oh man, I want that.
I'll
steal it, Kyle. Steal it.
Yeah, I'll take it. Well, moving on to some of the other slides here. Just to kind of give more point of emphasis to the offense here. CBS on NFL, basically NFL running back wide receiver trios for 2023. Chargers ranked second with Eckler, Allen, and Williams. So we got firepower. We got guys. We got dogs that can make things happen here. Now, it's crazy to see Keenan and Mike in the amount of yards and that they still ended up getting, even being injured and all that too. Eckler, I mean, he had a phenomenal season still too. But it's crazy to see the talent on this team. Is once again, it comes back to health, always for this team. Going into this other slide here, top 10 wide receiver duos of 2023. Keenan Allen, Mike Williams is on there too. You know, if you probably put top 3 or top 10 trios of 2023, I think the Chargers would be higher than that point with Quentin Johnston or even Joshua Palmer, in my opinion.
Well, and Q hasn't done anything obviously in the league. Right? We're just hyping him up, you know, but I agree. I think Allen and Williams, again, the argument is they're getting old, but they are still great. Some of the best route runners out there, 50-50 balls for Mike Williams. So it's going to be good. It's going to be good.
Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. And then just to take a step further, running back, tier 1 game changers based upon Corey Benjamin's list. He had Austin Eckler on there as a tier 1 game changer. You know, and it's interesting because I've heard some executives talk about that Austin Eckler ain't that guy. Like he's not a game changer, you know, and if you really look at this list, Nick Chubb, I mean, he took into the house on us a couple times, it seemed like, when we played him last year. McCaffrey, an absolute electric guy. Derrick Henry, an absolute beast. Josh Jacobs had a phenomenal year, who might be sitting out from the Raiders. He was apparently sitting outside of the freaking Las Vegas Raiders facility waiting for his contract, and they didn't set up anything with him. So dude wants to play for him. It's crazy they ain't trying to pay him. It's not going to be good for that team. But crazy to see that. And then obviously going to our quarterback. I mean, we love to hype him up. NFL's top 10 quarterbacks on ESPN Plus. Number 5, Justin Herbert. You know, this is kind of a little bit of an interchangeable list here. Hurts not being on the list is kind of an interesting one too. I think Aaron Rodgers might be a little bit of a hype train. He hasn't had his year. Last year was kind of a little regressing year, in my opinion. But he also did win 2 MVPs the year prior to those years. So, and then just to kind of end it off, PFF top 50 players, Justin Herbert, number 35 at number 4 at quarterback overall. So, we got a good squad. We got a really, really good squad here, guys. And
we have so much depth. So much
depth. A lot to like about this team. We have the ability to be something extremely special all around. And we have the ability to be able to have Justin Herbert have an MVP potential based season too. This guy has a lot of potential all around, and I'm excited about it. You know, offense could be, it's just like what we showed some of the stats earlier. 23 points a game on offense, giving up about 22 points on defense. We're always creating tight game situations. If we could get to the Cowboys level of, you know, scoring 27 points a game, but also keep our defense at 22, we're going to have more games where we're going to be able to just run away with victories and go into victory formations. That's a great way to be able to end a game. It's just victory formation, call it a day, not a heart attack situation all the way to the end. So
100%.
I'm excited about it, man.
Well, and again, I'm going to talk more about this on Monday. I'm going to talk about Herbert. I'm going to talk a little bit about what I also think about, you know, more what we could see from him. Again, I think there's some things that Herbert can improve on, but again, last season he was hurt, so there's a lot to discuss on that. So, and I kind of want to discuss specifically how I think Moore can make things more simple for the offense to run well. So I'm excited about that. Let's go to some questions here, and then we could get close to wrapping up. But guys, if you get a chance, go down to that event where Kyle's at, man, seriously. And then next week, we are going to be in LA. We are going to be shooting remotely as much as we possibly can. So come see us. We're going to be at camp. Try to get on the field. We'll see what happens. You know, we'll see how that plays out. So question for you about week 1 matchup versus the Dolphins. What's going to be the main focus to take out Keenan and put pressure on QJ or take out Mike? Look, again, I think there's going to be a lot of rotation. You could see Q and Mike out there for a while, and then Allen in the slot, and then and then take Allen out, and then put Palmer in the slot, right? Or put Darius in the slot, right? You can do a lot of different things. I really think there's going to be a lot of rotation. And guys, and we want that, right? We don't want Allen hurt. We don't want Williams hurt. We want people healthy for a change with this team. And so I think there's going to be a lot of interoperability moving forward, right? There's going to be a lot on that. What's your thoughts, sir, James?
Yeah, you know, and the thing about it is that week 1 matchup is going to be interesting. You know, you got Vic Fangio as the defensive coordinator over there. You got Jalen Ramsey over there now with Xavier Howard on the other side.
It's going to be big.
You know,
it's going to be big.
That's where the thing is, though. I'm looking at it as it's a matchup nightmare going against the Chargers. just to even throw out there, if there's 3 wide receivers with a tight end with basically Austin Eckler sitting in the backfield, you still have Gerald Everett, who knows what he could do and catch the ball and do well with it. You put out QJ out there with Allen and Williams. It's going to be tough. And then you got Austin Eckler who could just come right on with a wheel route or just hang out just for a quick dump off. I mean, there is a lot of things that are just very, very difficult to manage with this team. And I'm excited about that game. And we're planning on to be at that game, to be there in week 1. Because, I mean, best hype is to be there on the first game of the year. You don't know what to expect all season. And this is where everything starts. And that's going to be a great game. Great game.
Yep. And also, this is kind of funny. Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison. Yeah, it's kind of hilarious to me. You're like, okay, whatever. I mean, prove it. I mean, no. I think Q. The more I look at Q, I'm hyped on him as well too. I mean, we'll see. I'm pretty hyped on him. Any rookie cards of Q that are out there, I'm gonna try and scoop them up.
Yep.
And this is a good point. Yeah, kicker problems is awesome, right? I do think Dicker's going to be great, right? So I'm excited.
Yep. And Hopkins, I mean, he's a solid player. I mean, remember he played last year against the Broncos, and he ended up hitting 3 field goals for us in the game winner in OT. So, yeah, great.
Yep. Yeah, thank you, Marcus. Yeah, thank you for stepping in there. Ball Babe's getting a little too handsy on us, getting a little too handsy. Hey, looking for free, but touching's going to cost you, ladies. Okay, just so you know.
Touchies. Trying to get some touchies.
Touchies. Kyle, do you think it could benefit having Herbert getting hurt and losing the playoff game because of his contract? I mean,
yeah, I don't even want
he's
to
still
going
to want money.
I don't even want to talk about that.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah, he's still going to get paid a lot of money. Like, regardless, he's going to get paid regardless.
Bank. Oh, look at this, dude. Oh,
what
my
up,
God.
Big Dan, what up?
Big Dan, dude. Oh, my God. Big hug and kiss. Big hug and kiss. Better believe that.
That's awesome.
Bowl prediction: Chargers will win the Super Bowl. Kellen Moore will get an extension, be named coach, and get raised. I will not leave the Bolts. You know what, bro? Probably my biggest concern is that he will leave after this first year. So I would love that, Aether. 100% would love that because I want to see continuity on the offensive side. Get Herbert moving the right direction, and just make it simple for him, right?
Yeah.
That's what I want to see, right? And I'm really hoping that happens.
Yeah, and the thing about it is Kellen Moore is a great offensive coordinator from what we see, and what he's done statistically is great. And that's the scary part of this whole thing is that we could be going to a whole new offensive coordinator the year after if Kellen Moore does really well this year. Teams are going to be calling, yo, what up, man? What up on the Kellen Moore, dude? You want to get him to be a head coach for us? Holla at your boy.
Holla at your boy. That's right. Yeah, and aimbot, yeah, for sure. Kyle. Hey, look, Kyle lives in LA, so he has the opportunity to go to all these events and have a good time. And good for him. That's what he loves about it, right? So, yeah, you're definitely lucky. We are going to be there next week, so please get a hold of us. We want to see that. This is a great point too, Marcus. I hope RM can stay healthy, dude. By the way, we are going to do some short videos on predictions of player stats. So we'll do one for Parham, tight ends. Kyle also is going to do some short videos on predictions of teams who he thinks he's going to kind of use. You want to talk about that a little bit, Kyle, about how you're using Madden to come up with the predictions on team records?
Sure. I hope you guys can hear me.
We can hear you good. You sound good right now.
So
you sound good.
Okay, good. Yeah, so I'm gonna simulate like every team's season for all the season with Madden, and actually figure out like exactly what a solid prediction will be for the games or for the season. So and then we'll kind of go from there. I kind of started doing a little bit of it, and I'm gonna run the simulation, of course, and I'm gonna keep doing what I did last year as well, and have a little like watching the game simulation together, and while we just chat about the game and stuff. So it'll be good times. We keep up that trend.
I love it. That's great. Yeah, using Madden, right? So it's a little bit of an unbiased opinion, which I think is a good thing, because we're definitely biased on this channel as well too. But But we are going to be doing short videos on predictions of players' stats, Derwin James, tackles, sacks, interceptions, yada, yada. So we'll throw that out there as well too. So just see that. Kyle, so good to see you guys. Oh, and Motor Records. I hadn't seen you in a while, man. Good to see you. Hopping on.
I thought this was a great comment by Kyle Shellhammer.
Yep.
And this is something I've had on my mind for a really, really long time. And actually, somebody brought up a scenario. Let me just read the question first off. Sure. What up with all my SD friends and family leaving the Bolts because they went to LA? We started in LA, and who cares? Raiders fans follow everywhere.
Yep.
See, okay, so I've always had this thought, and actually Chargers Chat and the other podcast, shout out to them, by the way. They chatted a little bit about that. Somebody brought up the idea that they said, hey, if somebody ends up buying the brand of the Chargers and moves them back to San Diego, so the San Diego Chargers are back, and then the LA Chargers, whatever their name would have to be, would be changed, what would you do? And I thought that was a phenomenal question. And I've always said, and they have even responded to on Chargers Chat the same exact way. Sometimes it comes down to the players more than the team brand.
Yep.
And sometimes it's about the guys that you love on the team. If it's Justin Herbert you love, LaDainian Tomlinson back in the days, Antonio Gates, yep, Dan Fouts, whatever it is, just historically these guys that we just loved. And sometimes it's just about those players more than anything, less than the actual brand of the team. Now, this is a very hypothetical thing here.
Yeah,
but
very much.
I think it really boils down to, do you love the players? And some people are team-based fans, and some people are just player-based fans. And I think
also,
I'm more of a player-based fan, and I just love the team. So that's what it is. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, well, that's my point, right? I think it's also city-based, right? I grew up in San Diego. I'm a Charger fan, right? And that's and I stayed with the team. So I think it's a little bit of both.
But if it changed brand from LA Chargers to something else, would you stick around? That's the whole thing. Like, that's kind of the question of it. And it's like, you know what? Look, I love Justin Herbert. I love to see where he's going to go with his career. Like, and would I be a fan of the Chargers if, say, their brand got purchased to go down to San Diego? Probably. I mean, I'm sure they'd be an NFC team at that point, which I'd have an NFC team of whatever it is.
Yeah.
So, it's an interesting question.
This is a good question here, too. Fourth downs are still going for it, more conservative like last year. So I think we were conservative last year because of the people that were hurt, right? We had Allen and Williams out. We didn't have a lot of opportunities to really get people open on fourth down. So it was a personnel problem that held us up last year. I think that's why we were more conservative. Now, if we could stay healthy, I think it's all gas, no brakes, dude. It is just shove it down their throat and just score points and just donkey punch them hoes, right? And that's what they want to do. That's what they want to do. I don't think they want to do anything but that. Just beat them up. Yeah. So, put those fools to sleep and show them it. So, hey, you can't hang with the big boys, sucker.
That's right. Sucker.
Sucker.
That's how we talk in the family all the time. We call each other sucker.
Sucker. Sucker. Oh, yeah. And Parham, dude, I just want to see the guy healthy, man. I think and Moda, running back too, I think Kelly could be the guy, man. He was looking great until he got hurt, and we still haven't seen anything from Spiller, man. So lot to look at moving forward. Let's see. I think we got most everything here. Yeah, let's not talk about this, Moto. We don't want to talk about this.
Yeah, please. Don't even put that logo out there.
Yeah, exactly. And again, this is a big part of it, dude. Like Allen Williams were barely on the field together. They just weren't. Right? Yeah.
But it's crazy to think that we had, I think it was 7 players on our team over, was it 600 yards each?
Yeah.
So if you're going to say, like, was it a lack of not having targets, or was Lombardi not being inventive enough? But at the same side, Justin Herbert was showing his skill set and running on his skills to be able to make this team function and get to where it was. At some point, I'm going to say it was Justin Herbert just having the ability to make this team will his way to this team to get to the playoffs at that point.
Yeah, and remember too, like there was nobody there. So guess what? Check the ball down to Austin Eckler. Just put it in Eckler's hand. Put it in Eckler's hands. Put it in Eckler's hands. I mean,
all the time.
That was it.
Yeah.
And the running game was clearly horrible, and they never did anything right. That really frustrates me because you do have to be balanced in the NFL. I mean, look at all the teams out there that are really good, Eagles, Chiefs, Niners, they all do a good job of balancing that at least a little bit. So, yeah. And again, you're right. That's the guy. Keenan Allen's our third down target. He's always been third down, fourth down. It's going to be good.
That's what Antonio Gates was for us, too. He was the third down king. Like, he was always open third down. I think Keenan Allen learned a lot that from Antonio Gates.
Yep. Well, maybe we should wrap up. Kyle, let's see how you're sounding right now.
See, the signal looks pretty good
give
for
us
him right now.
Yeah. Kyle, give us your final thoughts. I know you sound really good right now. You got a good connection, it looks like.
Cool. Okay, sweet. I guess I found a sweet spot.
Yeah.
Look, man, I'm all hyped for this season for sure. Like, the offense is going to be stellar. We were talking to Joshua Kelly last week at the actual thing. He thinks that we could easily put 40 points up every single game. So I'm freaking stoked. I would love to see that.
Wild.
And I would love to see more production out of like our tight end group. Like, I'd love to see Donald Parham out there more catching some balls. Being the Madden goat that he is, just put his hands up. And it's like 10 feet up in the air. So. I'm excited to see Quentin Johnston out there. Darius Davis returning some touchdowns, some punts for touchdowns, and kickoff return for touchdowns. Dude, like, the sky's the limit for this offense. Like obviously we just keep everything the way it needs to be, and all throughout the season, we're golden, man. We're gonna go deep.
Let's go.
I love it, man. I love it. Yeah, and you sound great, Kyle. That's awesome. I'm glad we found a good spot for you, buddy. Seriously, bro. Hey, I'm excited to be out there next week too. So it's gonna be something exciting. James, your thoughts?
Going back to my thoughts about the whole, team and everything moving from San Diego, LA, and everything like that. It's been done, guys, and it's pretty much a lock. They're going to be in LA. This is the time to be able to jump back on board with this team. Kyle's currently right now in San Diego right now with the other Chargers fans out there.
Yeah.
This is the time to get back on board, guys. The Padres, that's your team now. Oh, we're Padres fans. It ain't fun to watch right now, guys. And it's if you want more punishment, come back to the Chargers. You love them deep down inside, guys. And this is an exciting season for us. And it's an exciting season to get back on board. Even last year we had some other guys too. The trumpet guy, I believe his name, Trumpet Man, he came back on board too. He started getting excited about this team once again. We have a very exciting brand of football, and there's a great potential this year. We could do some great things for this team.
100%.
So, this is the time to get back on board, boys. So let's get it. Let's get going. Can't wait for training camp next week, guys. Let's go.
I'm not going to sleep much, folks. I'm not going to lie to you, dude. Like, I'm just going to lay in bed, just look at the ceiling going, come on now. Come on now.
Let's just show up early in the morning like those old Nervous commercials. Remember? Open. Remember those back in the days? That's old school.
Yeah, Marcus, I think we're going to be over 25. I think we could be 26 points a game.
I think we're going 27, 28.
And I'm going to tell you why. Again, I'm going to talk more about this tomorrow or Monday, I should say, when I talk about the offense and Justin Herbert specifically. I just really think that it's going to be all gas, no brakes. What's the point of having an offense and having this offensive weapons that we have? Just gas it downfield, man. Just get it downfield. Move it. Move it.
Yeah.
And just stop worrying about the defense and let the defense do the job when the ball's turned over or fumbled or whatever, or we get a touchdown and we're kicking off to them again, right? So to me, I think you're going to see a lot of fourth and Staley. Again, I think we were conservative last season because of injuries. It was like, crap, well, what do we do? And the defense was on the field a lot last season. They really were way too much. And so you got a good offense. You can let the defense rest a little bit, right? You can just keep scoring up the points, yada, yada. And man, again, I think sky's the limit for this team. If we stay healthy, we're going to be fine. We're going to be fine. Yep. This is interesting. It's a good point. Yep. A lot of people in Oregon are Charger fans now. That's a really good point. It's a really good point. Who's I talking to the other day? Man, they rambled on about that. Like, oh yeah, man. Like, I love Herbert, man. He's my guy, dude. He's my dude. So I'm a Charger fan now. And I, hell, Dan Fouts was a Duck as well too. So, they should all be Charger fans.
Yep, no doubt. I mean, Justin Herbert was a Dan Fouts fan, and guess what? He got drafted by the Chargers now.
Big time.
Full
Big
circle,
time.
man. It's crazy.
Yep. And you're right, Marcus. Our defense is going to be stout this year. I think we're going to be a lot better. So overall, offensively and defensively, we've been upgraded. So I'm excited, man. It's going to be a lot of fun. So
cannot wait. Cannot wait.
Guys, again, we are going to be out there next week. Next week, we are there. So message us, get a hold of us. We want to see you guys. Let's go get some ramen together. I don't know why we said we're going to do some ramen, right? We're going to do some ramen.
Oh, yeah. We talked about the brisket broads getting some ramen, dude. Right around the corner, baby.
Right around the corner.
Best ramen you'll ever get, man. Straight from Japan.
Right.
It is phenomenal. I'm really looking forward to the ramen and the food. Like, I'm really looking forward to the food. Kogi, we're going to get some Kogi burritos. Sugarfish. You're going to get
sugar. We're getting sushi. Oh, my God.
Man. It's the best part of
visiting the neighborhood, folks.
Oh man, you guys need. Hey, we're the plug for the food spots. Hit up the Bolt Bros for the food spots. Maybe we'll make some. Maybe we'll make some videos out there of us hitting up food spots. Hey,
we should.
Check out Kitty Kata around the corner from training camp. A little hype video, dude. Oh, that'd be great. Tacos El Gordo. I've heard great things about that spot. I've always wanted to check it out in Vegas, actually, too. I've heard it's really, really good.
We got to go check out that place
where it's out of Tijuana, I believe, too.
Okay, good. Yeah, give us your thoughts on places we can go check out, man, for real, dude. So it's gonna be sick.
Oh yeah,
guys, we are beyond hyped, man. Like I'm excited to do this video on Monday for Herbert, right? So I've already been thinking through what I want to do on it, what I want to talk on it, right? I mean, you're talking to three people that are addicted to having this conversation. It's kind of bad. We probably should go to therapy or something, but. Anyways, whatever. That's cool, dude. Anyways, we love you guys, though. We are the Bolt Bros. Wait, who's gonna hit the button?
I'll hit it. I'll hit it.
I'll hit it. All right.
I'll hit it.
See you guys.
See you, dudes. Bolt Bros.
You're out.
Let's
Have
go.
fun, Kyle.